What if the leaf lied to Naruto for years, while his mother Kushina survived in secret? This hidden bond would change Naruto's destiny forever. Chapter 1. Kushina woke up in a hospital bed. She remembered Minato finishing the sealing jutsu and the Kyuubi was sucked into her son. She remembered being wounded as the Kyuubi screamed at being incarcerated yet again. She had thought it had been fatal. Minato said that it looked fatal. So why was she still alive? A nurse must have seen her eyes opened because she heard them talking about Sandaime. Sarutobi-sama would probably arrive soon with many questions that they hadn't had the time to properly answer the night of the attack. The night of Naruto's birth. Kushina was weak, but she was alive. And she wanted nothing more than to hold him in her arms. To protect him. She knew all about what it was like to be a young Jinchuriki. She knew what it was like to grow up alone. Nurse, Kushina rasped. Her throat and chest hurt badly. She didn't even bother trying to form chakra. She simply searched for a call button. She was still exhausted. Her heritage gave her incredible longevity and health, but she had been injured badly. It would take some time to completely heal. As much as she wanted to storm off and find her son, she would have to rely on others. The nurse came in and looked at Kushina. "You are an amazing woman, Uzumaki-san," the nurse said. "Nobody expected you to wake. When Sandaime-sama brought you in, you had internal injuries and suffered from severe chakra exhaustion." "Where is my son?" Kushina asked, grabbing the nurse's arm. "Where is Sarutobi-sama? Please. You must calm down, Uzumaki-san. Your injuries are severe." Kushina's temper flared. She knew that she should rest. Objectively, she knew that it was a bad idea. But she hadn't seen her son. Her husband had used a forbidden sealing jutsu that dragged him to hell to save them, and she thought that she had died. She knew better, but her temper got the better of her. "No. Bring me my son," she screamed, forming chakra and channeling it into her body. "Now!" The nurse screamed in pain and Kushina realized that she was squeezing the poor woman's arm with a combination of a mother's protective instincts and the enhanced strength of ninja techniques. Kushina let go of the nurse. "I'm sorry. Please. Just bring me my son," Kushina pleaded. "Thank the gods," came a familiar voice. Jiraiya-sensei crouched in the window. "I know that I am the boy's godfather, but I would have been terrible at it. Sarutobi-sensei would have had to do most of the work. I know nothing of babies." Jiraiya had his head hung in shame. He wouldn't meet Kushina's eyes. "Where is he, Jiraiya-sensei? Do you know?" Kushina pleaded. "Sarutobi-sensei is protecting him." Jiraiya stopped. Jiraiya turned away. He couldn't even look in her general direction. His favorite students had grown up, gotten married, and had a child. To top it off, they had asked him to be the boy's godfather. He knew his own faults. He knew that he couldn't be around the boy until he was older. He just couldn't. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." His voice was barely a whisper. Kushina was barely paying attention. Her body was screaming in pain from her exertion with the nurse. Jiraiya was sorry. Why wouldn't he be sorry for her? Her husband, his favorite student, had died protecting the village. It hit her then. Minato was dead. Not only dead, but dragged off by the Shinigami. She wept openly. Her son was alive. Her husband was dead. She was still excited about her son, but it was bittersweet without Minato. They were shinobi. They knew the risks. But she had always dealt with it in the long term by denying the possibility of their deaths. The nurse led Sarutobi-sama into the room. Jiraiya still wouldn't look at Kushina, but he didn't leave either. Kushina was flooded with joy at the tiny baby Sarutobi brought her. She cried harder, bringing Naruto into her uncharacteristically gentle embrace. He had blonde hair, just like Minato. 6 months later, the apartment of Kushina Uzumaki. "Jiraiya-sensei, it doesn't matter. I'm not dead," Kushina said. "It matters. I heard that you two might be dead and my first thought was, I hope Sarutobi-sensei doesn't know I'm his godfather, because I didn't want a baby around. You and Minato honored me and I nearly blew it off because I don't like babies," Jiraiya said fiercely. He had vowed that he would be the very best godfather possible. Kushina paused, looking at the Sannin intent on murdering the man. He hadn't left her alone since the hospital. Naruto was finally asleep and the dolt was nearly screaming at her. He really did know nothing about babies. For being such a renowned pervert, the Sannin was amazingly uninformed about the aftermath. Shish, Kushina shushed. Naruto is finally asleep. She had a hard look in her eyes. She had recovered quickly from her injuries. A testament to her Uzumaki health. She knew that Jiraiya was racked with guilt. At first, she had been infuriated with the Sannin, but after several months she was mostly just tired. Jiraiya-sensei, you aren't helping. I'm exhausted. Naruto is definitely an Uzumaki. He has endless stamina and I don't have the energy to be mad at you anymore. We are safe within the village. Just go somewhere. Write your books. If you wake Naruto again, by all that is righteous and holy in this world I swear I will poison you and then beat you to death. I mean it. Come back often, but leave. Tsunade has been gone since the end of the war. You are fantastic with Genin, but Naruto is only a baby. But, I'm letting you off the hook, Jiraiya-sensei, Kushina said honestly. It wasn't the old leche's fault, really. It was like the scorpion and the frog. Just make sure that you come back around, she added. Jiraiya hung his head. They had had this conversation many times before, but he could tell that the red-hot habanero was no longer angry with him. He would have deserved it if she had held a grudge forever. He knew that. After the first time Kushina had forgiven him, he'd made the vow. He intended to keep it, but he couldn't fight her anymore. She was right. He hated that she was right, but he admitted it. You're right. I'm not helping. I will not fail again. I will return. Kushina sighed. I almost wish you'd just go peep at the hot springs so I could have some peace, Kushina muttered. She was too tired to be offended by the old lech. She fell asleep where she sat on the couch, leaving Jiraiya to wonder if she'd meant it. Jiraiya made sure to secure the apartment before he left. Playground in the Leaf Village, Naruto, age 4. Hi. My name's Naruto Uzumaki. The boisterous blonde boy shouted at the other children in the sandbox. Kushina was sitting on a bench watching her son. His spiky blonde hair reminded her so much of Minato. It had been 4 years and she still missed him, but his absence hurt a little less. Sandaime had been very generous with their stipend and she hadn't been on a mission since before she was pregnant. She still trained, but she hadn't been in the field in years. Every time she got restless, she would look at Naruto and the restlessness melted. She knew that he needed her. The other villagers always whispered and avoided him. It was supposed to be an S-ranked secret, but somehow it had leaked to the general populace that Naruto was the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. She understood their hatred. It was callous and uninformed, but she understood. At first, she had challenged the villagers who stared and whispered. But it didn't really help any. Naruto would just have to grow up and prove to them that he wasn't the Kyuubi. Her ninja friends, on the other hand, were much easier to persuade. She explained to them that Naruto was just a boy, that being the Jinchuriki didn't mean that he was the Kyuubi. She found out who her true friends were, not that she was surprised at who remained. Makoto Uchiha was one of them, although her husband wasn't. Shikaku Nara had said, troublesome, in an understanding tone. She was never close friends with the Hyuga, but the Hyuga were more outraged that she refused to remarry and raised Naruto alone than whether Naruto was Kyuubi. Of course, Minato's sole surviving student, Kapi, Kakashi Hatake, didn't care. Kushina asked him to visit, but she found him more often at the memorial stone for the Third Great Ninja War. She shook herself from her reverie to see that Itachi and Sasuke were playing with Naruto. Sasuke and Naruto were both trying to catch Itachi. They were having so much fun that she barely noticed the Anbu in the tree at the park. She saw Makoto watching the children play with Itachi. Itachi was already a Chunin and Makoto had bragged that he was applying to Anbu. Kushina body flickered to a branch next to the Anbu. Are you here for me or Naruto? She asked. The Anbu just shook his head. Kushina body flickered back to her position on the bench and continued. Chapter 2. Naruto was the center of attention, right where he always loved to be. His mother was throwing him a birthday party and all of his friends were invited. He was always trying to make more friends, but the adults in the villages seemed to do something to make sure that other kids stayed away. Very few parents would let their kids get close to Naruto for long. The only kids his own age in attendance were Sasuke Uchiha and Shikamaru Nara. Sasuke was fun to play with, but he was always going on about what an awesome ninja he would be when he grew up. He always talked about how he would be just like his older brother, Itachi. It took Itachi only a year to graduate the academy and he already joined Anbu. Shikamaru was quiet, but he liked to play. He was always trying to teach Naruto to play shogi or go, but Naruto liked running around more than board games. Still, it was nice to play inside when it rained. Shikamaru was also friends with Choji Akamichi, but Choji's parents weren't as understanding about the Kyuubi incident as Shikamaru's parents. Choji liked Naruto and didn't understand why he couldn't go to the party as well, since Kushina was reputed to cook enough food for even an Akamichi. It took some doing, but Kushina managed to get Jiraiya-sensei and Kakashi-chan to show up as well. Naruto liked Jiraiya. Whenever Jiraiya was in town, he brought Naruto presents and would spend time helping with pranking the villagers. Jiraiya was especially fond of pranks at the hot springs. Naruto loved to play pranks on the villagers. The villagers generally ignored him, but would sometimes get angry and curse him. Naruto hated being ignored more than being cursed. It made him feel so alone. But the villagers paid attention when Naruto pranked them. Anytime Kakashi caught him, Kakashi would lecture him about taking things more seriously, but Kakashi was always reading something that Naruto wasn't old enough to read. Kakashi wasn't nearly as fun as Jiraiya-sensei. And Kakashi tried to stop his pranks rather than help. But Kakashi taught Naruto taijutsu. Naruto wasn't terribly skilled, but he still loved to practice. Kushina made plenty of food. She ate a lot and Naruto ate a lot, so keeping the kitchen well stocked was a requirement. She had a homemade grill and cooked barbecue. There were plenty of chips, drinks, and cakes too. Everyone was having a good time. The kids played while the adults drank adult beverages and chit-chatted about current events. Naruto noticed some of those weird ninja with funny animal masks on the rooftop across from the apartment. And then someone new knocked on the door. Naruto didn't really know anyone else, so he was surprised that someone else would come to his party. "Mom, did you invite anyone else?" he asked. "I did invite someone else, but I really didn't think that he'd show. He's a busy man, after all," Kushina replied from the grill. She left Jiraiya at the grill and went to open the door. Hiruzen Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage, bowed and entered. Everyone had some variation of Hokage-sama, or Sarutobi-sensei, in shock as the Sandaime entered. "Hey old man, I've never met you before. Who are you?" Naruto asked innocently. Everyone in the room was stunned into silence at Naruto's bluntness, but the Hokage only chuckled. "Ho ho, we've met before Naruto. I must be keeping myself even busier than I thought if you don't even remember me." "I'm Hiruzen Sarutobi," the old man said. "And you should be able to guess my title from my robes and hat." Naruto frowned. The old man was wearing Hokage robes. Well, the old man seemed nice enough, so he didn't see what the big deal was. Naruto didn't get why everyone was so reverent. "Nice of you show, old man," Kushina chided. "You must have misplaced the last 2 birthday invitations I sent. If mom talks to him that way, then I'll talk to him that way," Naruto decided. He went back to playing with his friends, who were both mortified at how he spoke to the most revered ninja in the village. Shikamaru didn't even utter his trademark, "How troublesome." Naruto made a mental note. Knowing what shocked people was always good fodder for pranks. Kushina, Jiraiya, and Sarutobi gathered around the makeshift grill. Sarutobi said, "Well, it looks like he's healthy." "Yes," Kushina replied. "He's grown strong. I've been keeping track and he has even more stamina than a normal Uzumaki. Kakashi says that his chakra network is nearly as developed as a low-level Chunin. I really wish that the Hyuga weren't so uptight because I would like to get someone with a Byakugan to look at him. But as far as we can tell, everything is just fine." Good, Sarutobi muttered. "So he'll be ready to go to the academy this year?" he asked clearly. "The war is over, Hokage-sama. I was hoping to let him be a child for a while," Kushina replied. "Sasuke and Shikamaru are both entering the academy this year and Naruto should probably stay with his friends," Sarutobi said. "I suppose if he's to be a ninja anyway, he might as well stay with his friends," Kushina relented. "Sarutobi-sensei, I would like to remain in the village for a few months when Naruto enters the academy," Jiraiya finally spoke. Sarutobi and Kushina were both shocked. Jiraiya was a famous, or infamous, writer and a tremendous asset to have abroad collecting intelligence. Sarutobi said, "If you insist, I can't really stop you, but some of your fans," he eyed Kakashi, "might object to a long hiatus between installments." Jiraiya nodded. They'll live. Some things are more important than make-out tactics. Volume 4, he added with a smirk. Kakashi had been quietly paying attention. He was devastated to hear that his favorite series would be on hold. He had to do something, so he approached the three older nin to speak. Hokage-sama, Jiraiya-sama, Kushina-sama, if Naruto needs a tutor, I would be happy to assist. Jiraiya saw through Kakashi immediately. The part you've left out is, if it will help Jiraiya-sama get back to writing, Kakashi-san. Kakashi knew that was absolutely the case, but he shrugged. Well, Naruto's first day at the Ninja Academy. There were many other children at the academy that Naruto had seen around town. Many only had one parent. Some had only a father, while others had only a mother. Naruto had never questioned it since it was so common. He quickly found his friends and tried to be as friendly as he could to the other children. He was hoping that the academy wouldn't be like the playground and that he would have more friends. He loved Shikamaru and Sasuke like brothers, but Naruto wanted to be friends with everyone. That first day, there were several tests to determine everyone's physical capabilities. But that was only a small part of the day, according to the instructors. There were also textbooks. Reading, writing, math, history, and science were part of the curriculum too. The instructors for the class were Iruka-sensei and Mizuki-sensei. They both seemed harsh to Naruto, but he was accustomed to new people acting weird around him. They seemed decent, but Naruto devised several pranks that he could play on them both. Just in case they were like some of the villagers. The physical stuff was Naruto's favorite. He liked being active. Running over obstacles and sparring were the things that he loved the most, even though he wasn't top of the class. Sasuke was the best at sparring and running obstacles. He said that it was because of the genius of the Uchiha, but Naruto was a close second in those two things. With the textbook stuff though, he was dead last. By the end of the first day, Naruto had discovered that Sasuke was considered a genius by the rest of the class because his family had a long tradition of being awesome ninjas. Itachi was already in Anbu, which was a huge deal in general, but especially because he was so young. The other kids mostly ignored Naruto, but Sasuke and Shikamaru would talk to him, which led to Choji joining. Choji and Shikamaru both ended up talking to Naruto at lunch, while Sasuke ate quietly beside them all. I'm the #1 prankster in the village. Naruto exclaimed proudly. Nobody can pull pranks like I can. Oh yeah, Choji replied. Prove it. Pull a prank now. How troublesome, Shikamaru muttered, knowing that Naruto couldn't back down from a challenge, even if he lost. Naruto inhaled the rest of his lunch because he was always hungry and started sneaking around. The easiest targets for a prank were a group of girls. They seemed to be ignoring the world and whispering about Sasuke. Naruto noticed a stray cat skulking in the bushes and immediately got an idea. He grabbed the cat and petted it, quickly calming the feral beast. The girls didn't suspect a thing while Naruto held the cat. He tied an orange dye bomb to the cat's collar and brought it over to the group of Sasuke-crazed girls. Excuse me, does anyone know whose cat this is? He asked politely, holding the cat out into the crowd. Naruto, right? Asked one of them. Yep, that's me, he replied, smiling. Why would we know about some stray cat? She asked acerbically. That's what I thought, Naruto said as he triggered the dye bomb. A cloud of orange dye billowed out of the cat and enveloped all four girls, the cat, and Naruto. Naruto was already wearing his favorite color, so he didn't care about the dye, but the girls' clothes all turned bright orange as well as their faces and hair. Naruto just smiled and set the cat down while the girls were still in shock. The now boy covered head to toe in orange sat down next to Choji, who was laughing hysterically. That was really mean, Naruto-kun. But you got yourself too, so I guess it wasn't that bad. Naruto beamed. See, I told you I'm the #1 prankster in the village. Choji looked to Naruto and said, yeah, but those girls are about to murder you. Naruto's house, after school. You did what? His mom screamed. It's just dye. It'll wash out. Jiraiya tried calming Kushina. But it's his first day. She screamed, exasperated. Jiraiya's arms were crossed and he was leaning against a wall while Kushina paced, fuming. Naruto just smiled. His mother had a temper, but she always calmed down quickly when he smiled and put his hand behind his head. He struck the pose that he knew would calm her down and said, yeah. I had to show them who the #1 prankster is. Choji didn't believe me and the girls were all mean. Kushina calmed down quickly. He looks just like Minato. But Minato was so serious at this age, Kushina thought. See, they probably deserved it anyway, Jiraiya said. Kushina glared at Jiraiya. Damn, Naruto thought, the old perv is gonna screw this up for me if he doesn't shut up already. Naruto wasn't sure what perv even meant, but he was pretty sure that it applied to Jiraiya. Jiraiya-sensei, why don't we work on my homework? Naruto asked, deflecting as much as he could. That sounds like a great idea, kiddo, Jiraiya said as he quickly grabbed Naruto and bolted at Sannin's speed out of there before Kushina could kill him with kitchen utensils. 1 month later. This is taking forever, exclaimed Naruto. It's so boring. Jiraiya had been exceedingly patient with Naruto, but he still thought, damn. What I wouldn't give to be on the road doing research. And I would love to see the next wave of kunoichi they'll send to tempt me into divulging village secrets. That's always a good time. Naruto-chan, we talked about this, Kushina cooed. Some ninja are good at some things and other ninja are good at others. But everyone has to work at it. You have to become good at hard work even if you have a Kekkei Genkai or you'll never be great. Sasuke was there too. He figured that passing up the chance to train with a legendary Sannin would just be stupid. And Itachi was out on a mission anyway. Even Sasuke won't be a great ninja if he doesn't put in hard work. And he's already the top of your class. But if he doesn't train, if he doesn't put in the effort, he won't get any better, Kushina said again. She must have repeated the lecture 100 times since Naruto's first day. But she only added the part about the Kekkei Genkai when Sasuke was around. Jiraiya nodded in agreement. Naruto, you can't just skip this stuff because it's hard. This is why I'm sticking around, to teach you how to learn this stuff even though it's boring. Kakashi was in the window. Jiraiya-sama, Kushina-sama, I've had an idea about how to improve Naruto's studying ability. Jiraiya raised an eyebrow and Kushina looked at the copy nin who'd been away for months on a mission wondering what this revolutionary new idea could possibly be. It struck me that you might be teaching Naruto things out of order, Kakashi continued. Naruto already has a wealth of chakra. He could probably do a certain jutsu with minimal instruction. It doesn't require much skill at all to use and could significantly multiply Naruto's study time, if my guess is correct. Jiraiya immediately understood, but it took Kushina a few seconds to understand. Minato had been the brilliant one. Kushina had just worked her tail off, night and day, to try to catch him. You're suggesting that we teach him a B-rank jutsu to help Naruto study math? Jiraiya laughed. You must really want me to get back to writing. Kakashi looked at the floor with his hand behind his head and smiled behind his mask. No. I was suggesting we teach him the forbidden version of a B-rank jutsu to study math. Yes, Sasuke thought. I'll learn something really useful. Sasuke-chan, this is something that you'll have to ask your mother about, Kushina explained as if she'd read his mind. If you were a genin, then you could decide for yourself, but this isn't something that I'd feel comfortable teaching you. Sasuke was pissed, but he went home to ask his mother and Itachi about the study aid jutsu. We'll have to work on some other things first, but he'll be a first-rate student by next year, Jiraiya said. Several months later. Okay, Naruto. You've got enough chakra control to try this. You're still dead last in your class, but with this, you'll be able to study at lightning speeds. Jiraiya exclaimed dramatically. Show me already, pervy-sensei. Naruto asked excitedly. It's called Shadow Clone Jutsu, Jiraiya explained. Watch. He made the single hand sign for the jutsu and poofed into 2 Jiraiyas. See, they said in unison. Jiraiya-sensei, how does that help? Naruto was confused. First, learn the jutsu. Then we'll explain, the 2 Jiraiyas. It didn't take long for Naruto to figure out how to channel his chakra into the jutsu. His first successful shadow clone filled the entire study room with clones. There were legs and arms everywhere, mashing everyone against walls and floor. Naruto couldn't get the exact number of clones right, but he could easily make too many instead of too few. After several practice runs, Jiraiya took Naruto to the library. Jiraiya checked out as many books on speed reading as the library had. Naruto, make a shadow clone for each of these books. Then, each shadow clone will read a different one of them. Naruto didn't understand, but did as he was instructed. He was still at the bottom of the class and wanted badly to improve. His mother had said that as long as he passed, his ranking didn't matter, but he wanted to show everyone that he could be good at things too. After about 3 hours of reading, most of the clones had finished their books and were practicing the speed reading techniques at the end. Jiraiya announced to the gaggle of Narutos, "Okay. Now, disperse the clones, one at a time." Naruto tried, but ended up dispersing them all at once. He still didn't quite get the big deal about them. Jiraiya picked up a book at random and asked Naruto about it. Naruto answered the question correctly and Jiraiya picked up another book. And another. Until Naruto figured it out. "Everything the clones learn, I remember when they disperse," he said excitedly. "Now you're getting it, kiddo," Jiraiya responded. "Every day, after school, I'm going to have 10 or 20 books ready for you to read, starting with these books on speed reading. You are going to be so good at academics after just a few weeks that they're gonna think you're a genius." And then he muttered, or cheating, under his breath and thought, which he kind of is. Taijutsu training with Kushina after school, several weeks later. "Why is Jiraiya-sensei leaving?" Naruto asked as he threw a wild punch. Kushina easily blocked it saying, "He has important work to do." Naruto tried a kick. "Writing his pervy novels. How do you know how pervy his novels are?" Kushina asked, knocking Naruto to the ground. "That's what everyone says," Naruto exclaimed as the ground knocked the wind out of him. Kushina sat down on the ground next to Naruto. "There's something that we need to discuss, Naruto." "Okay." Naruto was worried. His mother had never discussed anything seriously with him before. "It's about when you become a genin," she said. "Have you thought about who you'd like to be teamed up with and why?" Naruto thought for a few moments before answering. "I'd love to be with friends, but I wouldn't mind making new ones." "Naruto, I've seen how the Hokage works. I can guess what the teams will be. Some of them are already set, but some of them aren't. The ones that aren't are going to depend on academy grades," she explained. "So?" Naruto asked. "Sasuke is first in your class. If Jiraiya and Kakashi hadn't helped you study, you'd be last. Then you and he would end up on the same genin team. But your grades are improving rapidly now, so that probably won't happen." "So?" Naruto asked again. "Well, you've always worked extra hard to compete with Sasuke. The competition between you two is good. You are both becoming strong quickly. If you want to be on the same genin team as Sasuke, you're going to have to make sure that your grades are dead last." "What?" Naruto was floored. He'd have to do badly on purpose if he wanted to get stronger. "What the hell? I think you two would both get much stronger if you continued to compete with each other. The only reason I got to be as strong as I am and your father got as strong as he was is because we had someone to compete with," Kushina said with a far-off look. Naruto grumbled. He liked being good at school. Doing badly on purpose was not going to be easy, but if he could get stronger, he supposed that would be worth it. Naruto realized that it was the first time he'd ever heard his mother mention his father. "Who is my father?" Naruto asked innocently. "He was the only man I ever loved," Kushina said evasively. "Naruto will probably figure it out eventually. He looks so much like Minato. I don't want Naruto to get a big head about being the son of a Hokage. The Hyuga and the Uchiha have big enough heads for the entire village. But it's still an S-ranked village secret and the Hokage would have to approve disclosing it, even to Naruto," she thought. "Not that that would stop me." 2 years later, the morning after the Uchiha massacre. "What are those alarm bells?" Naruto shouted. He had spent at least an hour a day with 12 clones in the library every day since he learned the trick and knew everything publicly available. Some things he'd had to read twice, but he found that knowing the answers to things made life much easier than not knowing. He hated not knowing almost as much as he hated being ignored. "I don't know. I don't know," his mother said, still shocked. "Naruto, go to school. I have to speak with some people," she said distantly. So Naruto went to school. Sasuke or Shikamaru might know something. Itachi was in Anbu and he was probably part of whatever it was. "Shikamaru, do you know what's going on?" he asked as soon as he spotted the pineapple-haired boy. "I heard my father talking about it. Itachi went insane and killed all of the Uchiha except Sasuke." "Everyone," Shikamaru informed Naruto. Naruto couldn't fathom it. Itachi had been such a nice older kid. He didn't seem like a psycho killer at all. He hadn't been around lately, but Naruto figured that was just because he and Sasuke were in the academy and Itachi was out on missions. What's going to happen to Sasuke? Is he okay? Naruto interrogated. I don't know. That's all I heard before I had to go to school, Shikamaru replied. That's so terrible, Choji said emptily. He wasn't even eating, he was so sad. The teachers came in with solemn expressions. Class, as some of you may have heard, there was an incident last night involving the Uchiha clan. Itachi Uchiha suddenly and without warning went on a rampage, killing everyone except Sasuke Uchiha. His motives and whereabouts are unknown, but the village has labeled him a missing nin. There are reports that he fled the village. There will be no class today while we try to get answers. The two Chunin left the stunned class. Naruto didn't know where to go. His mother wasn't going to be home and she was always there to let him in after school. He didn't like wandering the streets because of all the weird stares and occasional angry mobs from the villagers, but he felt like he had to do something. The only person that he could think of to find was the Hokage. The other students went home, but Naruto charged straight into the Hokage tower. The staff at the tower was so shocked by the boy that they didn't think to stop him. They all knew that he was the Jinchuriki and some of them were terrified of what might happen. Some of them just wanted to see what the notorious mischief maker was up to. And a few hoped he'd piss off the Hokage and get himself killed. Naruto burst into the Hokage's office. Jiraiya was already inside as was his mother. What the hell is going on, old man? Naruto yelled. Normally, Sarutobi enjoyed the high-energy antics of the blonde-haired youth, but today he had too much to deal with. I'm having a meeting about a massacre and I don't have time right now, Naruto. Please leave. Kushina went over to Naruto to shuffle him out of the office, but Naruto wouldn't back down. Damn it, I only have a few friends and one of them just lost his entire clan. At least tell me where he is. He's in the hospital. He was under a genjutsu for a very long time, Naruto. He needs to recover, his mother explained. Well, what's going to happen to him now? Is he going to stay all alone at the clan's estate? Naruto persisted. He'll get an apartment and live with the other orphans until he graduates, Kushina went on. Naruto was horrified. Orphans lived in a crummy, dilapidated building. He'd seen it before. It was one of those places filled with people ready to chase him and curse him on sight, if his mother or Jiraiya weren't around. Why? Why does he have to be alone? Naruto shouted. And then he uttered a plea that nobody had even considered. Why doesn't he just live with us? Everyone stopped. The Hokage looked at Kushina. Jiraiya looked at Kushina. Naruto looked at Kushina. Kushina blinked at Naruto. She couldn't think of any reason why he couldn't. She'd been friends with his mother for years and he'd been playing with Naruto since before they could walk. Sasuke didn't have any family to object. She turned from Naruto to look at the Hokage. Why can't he just live with us? She asked the old man. The Hokage blinked. Twice. It would be better than the apartments, he finally said. You can talk to him when he wakes up. Chapter 3. Hidden Leaf Hospital, Sasuke's room. Naruto and Kushina were in the room, watching the unconscious Sasuke twitch in his sleep. He was obviously having horrible nightmares. Sasuke rolled over and opened his eyes. What are you doing here? He asked the two Uzumakis. Why, Itachi? Why? Well, Sasuke, since you don't have anywhere else to stay, I volunteered to take you in. At least until you graduate from the academy, Kushina said. You're not my mother. You're not family. Go away, Sasuke said. As you know, Itachi killed all of your family. So I'm taking you in. Because Makoto was my friend and Uzumakis take care of their friends. And you don't have anywhere else to go, Sasuke, Kushina said, leaving no room for argument. Sasuke rolled over. Mom, does he even have a choice? Naruto asked. Well, he could run away. But then he'd never finish training to become a ninja. I don't know if that matters to him right now though, Kushina responded. Sasuke growled and said, fine. I'll live with you. Naruto's house. This is going to be hard, isn't it? Naruto asked. We've been studying with shadow clones for over 2 years, Naruto. Faking it at school is one thing, but faking it at home is going to be nearly impossible, Kushina replied. Should we even try? Naruto asked honestly. I don't know. I think honesty is the best way to go with your friends, and then she thought, He's gained decades of knowledge in only 2 years, but he's still a child. I have to remind myself that even when he acts older, he's still a child. Living a life and reading about it in books are two different things. Do you think he'll be able to trust us? Naruto interrupted his mother's thoughts. I don't know. He idolized Itachi. What did the psychology book say about betrayal? It said that it was a hard thing to recover from. And what about torture? And brainwashing? You don't know what that genjutsu was that Sasuke was trapped in, Kushina explained. And who do you think did it to him? Holy crap, Naruto whispered. Itachi must have done that to Sasuke. But why? We don't know. We may never know. Maybe Sasuke knows, but he might not want to share it with us. Okay. Honesty was your first instinct, right? It was mine too. One of the psychology books said that the best way to gain someone's trust was to simply be honest with them, so our instincts can't be too far off the mark. We should tell him at dinner. Ichiraku ramen. I'll pick it up. Make some shadow clones to clean up and make space for another bed. Sasuke is going to need a bed of his own. But until we figure out what he needs, get a futon for yourself and put clean sheets on your bed for Sasuke. Yes, Mom. 5 shadow clones poofed into the room and began cleaning. Hidden Leaf Hospital, front desk. Sasuke, we're going to have dinner at our house. I hope that you like ramen, because it's all I had time for tonight, Kushina explained to the quiet boy. Whatever, Sasuke grumbled. I will kill Itachi. In order to kill Itachi, I must learn as much as I can. In order to learn as much as I can, I must stay with these people, Sasuke thought, repeatedly. Kushina walked with Sasuke down the street to the apartment. Sasuke, I wondered what you might want from your house. We won't be able to get inside for a few days, so you'll be sleeping in Naruto's bed while he sleeps on the floor. Don't worry, I made sure that you have fresh sheets, she said to the despondent boy. Whatever, Sasuke grumbled. His thoughts were the same, but he paused when Kushina told him that Naruto would be on the floor. She's putting her own son on the floor instead of me. What the hell? And I want you to start training with us. I know that the Uchiha have their own secret techniques, but you might be surprised at what I can teach you. Sasuke grunted. What could she possibly teach me? Naruto is dead last in the class. He's a total moron. Kushina walked silently the rest of the way, only stopping once at a flower shop to place an order. She thought, it's almost Minato's birthday. I don't know if I can hide the trip to the graveyard from Naruto anymore. He hasn't asked about his father again, but I know he's curious. I wonder when he'll figure it out. They continued walking to the apartment where Kushina absently unlocked the door and ushered Sasuke in. There was a futon on the floor with blankets and a pillow set on it. Naruto was already setting the table and there was at least 10 gallons of ramen from Ramen Ichiraku. Naruto looked up, bowed, and said, Sasuke-san, welcome. Please sit and have some ramen. Naruto motioned to the table. When did he learn manners? Something is off here, Sasuke thought. He narrowed his eyes at Naruto and said, when did you learn manners? Well, he started, but Kushina interrupted. Sasuke, we have something to tell you. Please sit down, Kushina said gently. Naruto has been failing at the academy on purpose, Kushina explained. Are you serious? Why would he do that? Why would you let him do that? Sasuke questioned. I'm guessing that you already know that genin get assigned to teams when they graduate the academy, but do you know how the teams are formed? Kushina asked. The Hokage assigns them, Sasuke responded, sure that it didn't matter. Naruto was already slurping down soup and the noise was mildly distracting. Yes, but he assigns them on several factors. If any teams have historically done very well, the Hokage will try to recreate it with a new generation. Ino Shikacho, for example. Beyond that, the Hokage tries to create balanced teams. When I was a genin, the lowest scoring student and the highest scoring student were paired with someone from the middle. And every year since then, the Hokage has done it that way. If you are the highest scoring student and Naruto is the lowest scoring student, Kushina trailed. Then we'll end up on the same genin team, Sasuke finished. He looked at Naruto and said, you want to be on the same team that badly. Why? Naruto looked down from his noodles and said, we've always been friends, Sasuke. I wanted to make sure that I knew at least one person on my genin team. Sasuke narrowed his eyes at the blonde. Just how smart are you? Naruto finished his second bowl of ramen before answering. Kushina had begun devouring her ramen with as much gusto as Naruto had. I'm not any smarter, Sasuke. I've just learned a whole lot more than I let on, Naruto explained. How much more? What do you know? Sasuke interrogated. Math, history, literature, biology, physics, psychology, tea ceremony, smithing in theory, chemistry, poisons, cooking, basic chakra theory, basic battle tactics, human anatomy, and his face blushed, pervy stuff. Naruto. Kushina shouted. I'm being honest. Naruto shouted in return. How did you even get any of that material? She shouted, disapprovingly. We covered henge in class, he said sheepishly. We're going to have to talk about that, Naruto. And it isn't going to be comfortable for either of us, she said as she slurped more ramen. How? How could you possibly know all of that? Sasuke said, shocked. For once, he wasn't thinking about Itachi. I don't believe it. Naruto looked at him and did a hand seal that Sasuke didn't recognize. There was a poof and then there were 5 of him. They huddled briefly, then each one hanged into a different character and began performing a scene from a play that Sasuke barely recognized. After the scene played out, Sasuke asked, how do clones and illusions help you learn this? What's the point? They aren't regular clones, Naruto explained. They're shadow clones. They take enormous amounts of chakra, but I have tons of chakra. And when they disperse, you remember everything that the clone experienced. Plus, using them almost constantly builds up my chakra level. I haven't actually compared, but I should have more chakra right now than most Jonin. 2 years of studying about 50 hours every day. I finished the academy curriculum after the first 6 months. This is your secret study aid jutsu? Sasuke asked. Let me try. And he started forming the seals that Naruto had used. Kushina reached over and stopped Sasuke. Later. You'll need to build up your chakra level first or you'll exhaust yourself and end up back in the hospital. We'll start work on that tomorrow. For now, just eat. You have school tomorrow. Ninja Academy, the next day. Naruto. Iruka-sensei asked. Naruto hadn't been paying attention. He was thinking about one of the books on torture recovery he'd read. He was still concerned about Sasuke. Huh, he said. He didn't really have to act distracted. It was boring stuff. Stuff that he'd covered long ago. He was genuinely bored. Tell the class what chakra is, Naruto, Mizuki-sensei said, annoyed. It's a combination of physical and spiritual energy that ninja use, Naruto rattled off without thinking. Sasuke elbowed him in the ribs and whispered. Idiot. Naruto thought, oh shit. I'm supposed to be dead last. What if they pick up on the charade? Gotta cover. And chakra is how you do cool jutsu like fireballs. He exclaimed, excitedly. The reality was that he thought fireballs were cool and he was excited to try them, but he knew that he needed a strong foundation in the basics before he started learning those things. And he didn't know anyone who would test his chakra affinity, so he didn't even know if he could do a fireball. But mostly, nobody would teach an academy student anything useful like that. Even Jiraiya-sensei and his mom told him to master the basics first. Mizuki-sensei responded, yes, Naruto. But chakra has many uses aside from just ninjutsu. There's also genjutsu, taijutsu applications, and medical jutsus. Naruto tuned him out again. One of his clones was in the library reading up on what little was available on genjutsu. He hoped the clone would finish soon and disperse so that he would have something else to think about. Shikamaru watched Naruto and Sasuke's brief exchange. He had gotten very good at analysis. His father was still better, but he was very good. Sasuke and Naruto were up to something. During lunch, Shikamaru made sure that he was alone with Naruto and Sasuke. Okay. What's going on? Sasuke and Naruto looked at each other. If I slip up again, he'll probably figure it out anyway, Naruto said. You can't unring a bell, Naruto, Sasuke said. Shikamaru, you can't tell anyone. Not even Choji. Not until we're all at least genin. Okay. Naruto asked his friend. It's your secret. If you can't manage to keep it, it's not my fault. But I won't tell anyone, Shikamaru responded. It'd be too troublesome. I've been tanking academics, Naruto confessed. Why? Shikamaru couldn't figure it out. Naruto loved getting attention and being the top of the class would certainly have gotten him attention. If I'm top of the class or number 2, Then there's no way that I'd be on the same genin team as Sasuke, Naruto responded. He liked Naruto and wanted to be on the same team as him. But he had also been friends with Ino and Choji practically since they were born. He wondered how the genin teams were assigned. You're going to be teamed up with Ino and Choji. Sasuke is my only other friend. I don't dislike any of the other kids, but it would just be easier to be on the same team as Sasuke, Naruto explained. Shikamaru looked thoughtful for a moment before saying, easier to pretend that you don't know anything and barely pass any of the tests than to just tell the Hokage that these are the lengths you are going to in order to ensure that you are paired up as genin. Naruto looked at Shikamaru. When you put it like that, it sounds like the Hokage might actually listen instead of just doing what he thinks is best. This way is much more likely to actually work, he said with a smirk. Shikamaru sighed. Telling would be too troublesome. It's just until we're genin, Shikamaru, Naruto assured his friend. Then I won't have to pretend to be totally clueless. Do you even care who else is on your team? Shikamaru asked. Naruto shrugged but Sasuke said harshly, someone who won't slow me down. Naruto said, I don't actually care. It'll probably be a girl, just by the numbers. I just hope it doesn't turn into some hopeless love triangle like in stories. Naruto's house, several years later, but a few months before academy graduation exams. You only have enough chakra for 8 shadow clones, Sasuke. Your chakra level is improving, but I'm concerned that you have ignored some areas of study. You shouldn't focus completely on battle skills. You need to keep up on the other stuff as well or you'll never be good at anything else, Kushina admonished Sasuke. Sasuke's bed and a few other things were in with Naruto's stuff in one room and Naruto was reading the chakra theory book again. What use will they be against Itachi? What if he comes back to finish the job? I don't need to know any of that, Sasuke replied calmly. And what about if you stop Itachi? What will you do then? Do you think that you'll only ever be given combat missions? We have been at peace for over a decade. Broaden your horizons, boy. There's more to life than fighting, Kushina shouted. Fine, Sasuke said, grudgingly picking up a book of poetry that Naruto always seemed to enjoy. Naruto felt a clone disperse. He had gotten his hands on an old enemy bingo book from the Third Great Ninja War. Naruto looked at Sasuke and decided to do something to cheer him up. Something that would probably spark a conversation with at least his mother and the Hokage. After Kushina left, Naruto said, Hey, Sasuke. Do you have enough chakra for a shadow clone right now? I want to do something and I'd like your help. Sasuke looked at Naruto, annoyed that he was interrupted. Fine, let's just hurry up. Naruto and Sasuke went out to Naruto's secret hiding spot behind a hardware store. Naruto grabbed buckets of paint and handed two to Sasuke. We're going to make a statement to the village, Sasuke. He smiled evilly. Sasuke was keeping watch while Naruto painted graffiti and swirls on the first 3 Hokage's faces. He left the 4th untouched. With Sasuke on watch, the pranksters spotted the Chunin before they were close enough to see the boys. Naruto, incoming. Let's go, Sasuke said calmly. It's no fun if they don't know it was me, Sasuke. Get out of here. I'll be fine, Naruto said. You'll get in trouble, Naruto. Come on. Don't mess around. Let's go. It's the fastest way to see the Hokage. I have questions that only he can answer. I need you to tell my mother that I did this to talk to him. Please, Naruto pleaded. Fine, Sasuke said as the clone dispersed. 2 Chunin approached and Naruto said, well, let's get this over with. Take me to the old man. Naruto, flanked by the 2 Chunin, went straight to the Hokage tower where Sarutobi was waiting, smoking his pipe. Leave us. I want to speak with Naruto alone, the old man said to the Chunin. Mom should be here soon. I don't want to have this conversation twice. But tell me, am I right? Sarutobi raised an eyebrow under his hat. Right about what, Naruto? Minato Namikaze was my father. Naruto brought out a beaten and weathered book with 1 page dog-eared and tossed it to the Hokage. It was the bingo book that his clone had been reading earlier from the Third Great Ninja War. There isn't much personal information about him in any of the history books, but I found this earlier today. He's 16 in the picture. I look just like him. When I first saw it, I thought, why am I in a bingo book from so long ago? Kushina arrived at the top of the tower where Naruto and Sarutobi were talking. Sasuke had told her that Naruto was seeing the Hokage and she'd seen the graffiti on the monument. She figured that Naruto knew about his father. "Naruto, are you alright?" she asked. Naruto just looked hurt when he faced her. "Why was it such a big secret? Couldn't you have just told me?" "There's more to it than that, Naruto," Sarutobi spoke up. "He wanted you to have a normal life." Kushina looked at Sarutobi as if she wanted to kill him. "He wanted Naruto to be a hero. I wanted him to have a normal life." Naruto looked at his mother. "What? I knew that you would have to grow up to become a great shinobi. That it would hard and lonely. But I want you to have friends. I want you to have fun and enjoy life. I want you to know love. How could you do that if you thought that you had to live up to Minato? How fair would that have been, to put such pressure on you?" Kushina started tearing up. It would be too cruel. She started sobbing, letting it all out for the first time in 13 years. "I couldn't do that to you. You're all I have." Naruto had never seen his mother cry. He didn't know what to do, how to respond. He wanted to be mad. He wanted to be pissed that they kept something like this from him. But seeing her in tears, he just couldn't be angry. It hurt him to watch her suffer and to know that it was because of him. His childish outburst. His stupid mouth. "Naruto," Sarutobi interrupted. "This was a secret that was meant to protect you. Are you familiar with the Hyuga clan?" Naruto turned. "Hinata is in my class, but I don't really know much about them." "How is this relevant? Just pay attention. Several years ago, a rival village sent ninja to collect the Hyuga's Kekkei Genkei. They kidnapped the heir to the clan and tried to blackmail the clan head. The heir, Hinata, was only 4 at the time. She was a target because of her clan. Because of her affiliation with the Hyuga. We made sure that any enemies that Minato had wouldn't target you by hiding your affiliation." Sarutobi tapped his pipe and took another drag before continuing. "It wouldn't be wise to advertise your lineage because you only have yourself, your mother, and now Sasuke Uchiha for protection. Kushina is a formidable kunoichi." He turned to Kushina, who should come back to active duty, by the way, and turned back to Naruto, "But there is only so much that she can do if it gets out. You should be safe at home, but you never know who will decide to sell this information to a potential enemy." Kushina had been composing herself after her emotional breakdown, but she looked up at the Hokage and choked out, "I want his things back." Sarutobi thought, "I should have known she would. You know that I can only give you his civilian things. His ninja gear is sealed in the vault." She composed herself. Her voice was hard now. "That's all I care about anyway. And there is a kunai as well. Just the one. It has sentimental value." Sarutobi nodded, leaving the two alone atop the tower, and prepared to have Minato's things removed from the storage vault. Naruto looked at his mother and said, "I'm sorry for hurting you, Mom." Kushina just hugged him silently. Naruto's house, that evening. "Why are you putting up pictures of you and the 4th Hokage, Kushina-san?" Sasuke asked. Naruto looked at Sasuke. He picked up a picture of Kushina and Minato from their academy graduation and put it next to his face. He motioned between his face and the picture of Minato. "No way!" Sasuke exclaimed in shock. Naruto nodded. "We only ever mention it here though. Nobody else can know. Although, some of the other Leaf Ninja will probably figure it out eventually, if they haven't already figured it out. But we don't have to help them by advertising," Naruto said. "I wonder what other secrets we don't know. How will I know when I'm ready to face Itachi? I have to be sure or I'm screwed," Sasuke thought. "Living here has gotten me at least as far as I saw Itachi get with certain techniques, but without my Sharingan I'll never touch him. I have to figure out how to awaken it." Chapter 4. Naruto. "Pay attention," Iruka-sensei shouted. "Huh." Naruto turned to the Chunin instructor. "You have to do the clone jutsu," Mizuki-sensei said, expecting the blonde child to fail. Naruto idly did the hand signs and made the requisite 3 basic clones. It had taken him months of practice to do a basic academy clone instead of a shadow clone, but he'd finally gotten it down. "You pass," Mizuki was disappointed. "The brat is supposed to fail, damn it. He hasn't made a single clone in practice, let alone 3. How can I manipulate him if he passes? Crap, I'll have to think of some other way to take revenge on that damned Kyuubi." Naruto had gotten the bare minimum correct on the written test to pass and he needed to pass all 3 practical tests in order to graduate. He and Sasuke had long since mastered the practical skills to the point that they didn't even need to use hand signs anymore. The two had even practiced using them in their taijutsu sparring sessions. But the test didn't call for that level of skill, and showing off wouldn't help his goals. Baruka returned Naruto's contagious smile. Whatever happened 13 years ago, Naruto isn't the Kyuubi. He's just not that psychotic. The students who passed that final test received headbands with the leaf symbol with instructions to return in the morning for assignments. Naruto, Sasuke, Shikamaru, Choji, Ino, and some pink-haired girl went out to celebrate. Sasuke didn't want to, but neither did Shikamaru. Choji and Ino convinced Shikamaru to come out, while Naruto convinced Sasuke to go. Naruto didn't know what the deal was with the pink-haired girl, but she and Ino were constantly fighting over something. "Hi, I'm Naruto. Who are you?" he asked. "I know who you are, moron. We're in the same class. You're always playing pranks on everyone and I can't believe you actually passed," the pink-haired girl said with venom. "Oh come on, have a sense of humor. You can't be that mad," Naruto replied. Pink hair was definitely exotic and he had just started to notice things like that on girls. The pink-haired girl merely ignored him and walked next to Sasuke. "Sasuke-kun, I'm so glad that you decided to celebrate with us," the girl cooed. "Are you kidding me? She likes Sasuke. Too bad for her, he's not into romance at all. That time I showed him one of Ero-sensei's books was hilarious though," Naruto mused. Naruto went over to Ino and said, "Hi Ino. What do you feel like tonight?" "Choji probably wants barbecue." "Shut up, moron. I'm trying to listen to Sasuke," Ino replied coldly. "Oh, come on. Is every girl in the village obsessed with him or is someone playing a massive joke on me?" Naruto thought. Screw it. I'll just focus on becoming Hokage. That'll teach them for pulling this kind of joke on me. The group was stopped by a man about 50 years old with strange markings on his face and long, spiky, white hair. "This year's graduating class, huh? Who've we got here?" Jiraiya asked. Shikamaru bowed and said, "It's an honor, Jiraiya-sama. I am Shikamaru Nara. This is Choji Akamichi, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, Ino Yamanaka, and Naruto." "Hey, Ero-sensei. How's the latest book?" Naruto interrupted with a smile. Sakura shouted, "You can't talk to one of the legendary Sannin like that, you moron." Jiraiya chuckled. "You're absolutely right, Sakura-chan, right. He should be more respectful of his elders." "Shut it, Ero-sensei. Or I'll tell them about that time you took me to the hot springs and," Jiraiya clapped a hand over Naruto's mouth smiling nervously. "The class clown moron knows Jiraiya-sama," Sakura sputtered, "and has blackmail material on a Sannin. Weird," Shikamaru thought. Sasuke maintained his usual calm demeanor, but everyone else was shocked into silence. "Let me buy you all dinner," Jiraiya said, keeping his hands firmly wrapped around Naruto's mouth. Choji was the first and most eager to reply, "We would be honored, Jiraiya-sama," with a bow and a smile in his eyes. At the barbecue restaurant, Jiraiya emptied his wallet paying for a meal that included both Naruto and Choji. Naruto wouldn't tell anyone how he knew Jiraiya and Jiraiya just kept saying, "We met a long, long time ago." The group of freshly minted genin and one Sannin left later than anyone anticipated, so Jiraiya offered to make sure everyone made it home without incident. Sasuke and Naruto were the last of the group with Jiraiya. "Sasuke-kun, where are you staying?" Jiraiya asked. "He's staying with us. Which you'd know, if you'd come around more often, Ero-sensei," Naruto replied. Jiraiya winced. "I'm sorry, Naruto. But I had important research to do," Jiraiya lied. "I wish I didn't have to lie about that." The three walked into the apartment and Jiraiya stopped when he noticed the pictures. "I see. You know about Minato then." Kushina punched Jiraiya hard enough to knock him through the closed door and into the opposite wall. "Hello, Jiraiya-sensei," she said through the hole in the door, smiling. "Next time, please tell me that you are going to be keeping my son and nephew out late so that I don't worry." She turned to the two and wrapped them in a big hug. "Congratulations. You both made it. I knew you would. I can't believe I'm used to this kind of emotional outburst. An Uchiha would never have shown this little self-control." Sasuke thought, but he didn't complain. Jiraiya picked himself up and entered the apartment again. "I guess I'll talk to Kushina in the morning." Damn, but those kids can eat. Hidden Leaf Ninja Academy, the next morning. Team 7, led by Kakashi Hatake, Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Naruto Uzumaki, Ruruka said. Kakashi waved at the three. The only other Sharingan user left in the village. Perfect, Sasuke thought. How awesome is this? Kakashi is going to be my Jonin sensei. Naruto thought. I'm on Sasuke's team. I'll win his heart for sure. Sakura thought. Meet me on the roof, Kakashi said as he thought. I really hope that they pass. I don't want to fail Minato sensei's son. The three genin went out to the roof where they waited for Kakashi. He didn't show up immediately and Sakura started to get restless. Where is this guy? How long are we going to have to wait? Sakura complained. Sakura-chan, please be more patient. I'm pretty sure that I know where Kakashi sensei is right now and he'll get here when he's ready, Naruto admonished the girl. When did he get so mature? Sakura thought. Naruto knows, copy, Kakashi too. Who else does he know? Sasuke thought. Naruto. Don't think that because we've met before that I'll let you get away with anything. Kakashi said sternly. Yes, Kakashi-sensei, Naruto said, startled. Now that you're all here, we should all introduce ourselves. Start off by telling everyone your name, your hobbies, your dreams, and your goals, Kakashi said. Sakura-chan, was it? You first. Well, can you show us what you mean, Kakashi-sensei? I'm not sure I understand what you want, Sakura said. Okay. My name is Kakashi Hatake. I have many hobbies, but I like to read. My dreams died. My goal is to make sure that you are all worthy of being ninja of the leaf. Your turn, Sakura-chan. The pink-haired girl was a little stunned at how jaded the Jonin's answers seemed, but collected herself after a moment. My name is Sakura Haruno. My hobbies include flower arranging and, she mumbled something that only Kakashi managed to hear, my dream is to win the love of a certain someone. My goal is to be noticed by a certain someone, she blushed profusely. Naruto rolled his eyes. So much for avoiding romantic entanglements, he thought. I'll go next. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My hobbies include learning everything about everything and eating delicious food like ramen. My dream is to become an even greater Hokage than the fourth. My goals are to help my teammates and to be acknowledged by the village, Naruto said, striking a determined pose. Since when do you learn anything, idiot? Sakura said incredulously. You'd be surprised, Sasuke said, rolling his eyes. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I don't have any hobbies. I don't have any dreams. My goal is to grow strong enough to beat and capture or kill a certain man, Sasuke said. It's Itachi, Naruto whispered to Kakashi. Shut up, Naruto. Sasuke screamed. You think he doesn't already know? That was for Sakura, Naruto replied, winking to her. Kakashi just looked at the three genin and smiled. They're so young. They're lucky that we aren't at war. There will be plenty of time for them to grow up. Okay. That was great. I'm glad we had this little talk, but you should know that you aren't officially genin yet. There's still one more test that you have to take, and if you don't pass, you'll have to go back to the academy, Kakashi explained. The three genin were silent, waiting for the Jonin to explain. Meet me at Training Ground 17 tomorrow at 8 o'clock. It's going to be extremely physical, so make sure that you don't eat anything for breakfast. You don't want to throw up. See you tomorrow, he smiled and waved before a puff of smoke replaced him and he was gone. Naruto turned to his new team, frowned, and said, that isn't right. What do you mean? Sakura asked. If it's going to be that physically demanding, we should eat only certain types of food that will make sure that we have energy, but won't take long to digest, like fruits and vegetables, Naruto explained. How do you know that? You failed biology, Sakura said. Yeah, on purpose, Sasuke said. Stamina Freak here knows more about nutrition than most doctors. What? How can you defend him, Sasuke? Sakura shouted. Because I've seen it. I've been living with him since the massacre. He'd have graduated years ago, if his mother would have let him, Sasuke explained. No, that would make him some kind of genius. There's just no way. Sakura tried to reconcile what she'd seen of Naruto at the academy with a super genius who knew so much and she just couldn't do it. Not a genius, Sakura-chan. Just determined, Sasuke said cryptically. I'll tell you all about it after we pass that test tomorrow, Sakura-chan, Naruto reassured. Sasuke-kun trusts the idiot. I don't know about this, but I guess if Sasuke-kun trusts him, I'll trust him too, Sakura thought. Oh, shit. Kakashi already knows, Naruto paled. It was his idea in the first place, Naruto continued. Sasuke and Sakura both stared at him. Training Ground 17, the next morning. Sakura-chan, did you eat breakfast like I explained? Naruto asked as she arrived. Even though Kakashi-sensei said not to eat anything, yes. I ate some fruit, Naruto. She had to admit that she felt much better than if she hadn't eaten anything. The three waited for several hours alone at the training ground. Naruto and Sasuke argued about training while they waited, but Sasuke refused to waste energy before the test, so Naruto practiced taijutsu by himself. When did his taijutsu get so good? Sakura thought as she watched Naruto practice. His moves were never that clean at the academy. Just what the hell is going on here? She wondered. I've failed over 20 teams, Kakashi said calmly, perched on a post. Are you that confident in your abilities, Naruto? I got bored, Kakashi-sensei. But I'm pretty confident too, he responded. Well, is everyone ready for the test? Kakashi asked. Yes. The genin responded enthusiastically. Kakashi raised 2 bells and explained, your test is to get these bells from me. There are only 2 bells though, so only 2 of you can pass. The genin were all shocked at that. You'll have to come at me with everything you've got. Don't hold back or there's no way you'll be able to pass. Naruto ran at the genin, trying to tackle him immediately, but Kakashi wasn't there and Naruto's tackle went through empty space. I didn't say, go, yet, Naruto, Kakashi wagged a finger at Naruto. Then say, go, already, Naruto grumbled as he stood up. Go, Kakashi said. Sakura jumped behind some trees. Sasuke did the same, but left behind a shadow clone and 2 regular clones. Naruto just swarmed the entire open space with dozens of shadow clones while he moved around. You want to face me head on? Kakashi said. That's not a good idea, as he formed hand signs faster than the genin could follow. Fire style. Grand Fireball Jutsu. The majority of Naruto's shadow clones dispersed along with Sasuke's shadow clone in the massive inferno. Kakashi exhaled. Sasuke screamed from the psychic shock of being killed. Naruto just frowned and made more shadow clones. Kakashi leapt back onto the creek and formed more unreadable hand signs. Water style. Water Dragon Jutsu. The massive water dragon swept away more of the clones, but Naruto immediately made more to replace them. Kakashi moved back onto the ground and quickly formed another set of unreadably fast hand signs. Earth style. Multiple suicide decapitation jutsu. The remaining Narutos sank into the ground up to their necks while Kakashi formed more hand signs. Water style. Water bullet jutsu. Sakura watched as Kakashi executed those advanced ninjutsu techniques in rapid succession against what looked like an army of Narutos. If Naruto is forcing Kakashi to use those techniques, I'm going to be the one who goes back to the academy. Sasuke is probably planning an ambush and that's the only way I'll be able to stay with him. If you overdo it early, you'll never succeed, Naruto, Kakashi said. Overdo it? I haven't even gotten warmed up, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto screamed. Sasuke, Sakura, get your asses out here and help me or none of us will pass. And Naruto summoned another army of shadow clones who all threw a barrage of kunai at the genin. The kunai riddled Kakashi's body, but then it poofed into a log. He's pretty good, Kakashi thought from a tree branch. But it doesn't matter for this exercise. Kakashi spotted Sakura's hiding spot and body flickered behind her. Hello, Sakura-chan, he waved, smiling at her behind his mask. Demonic illusion. Hell viewing jutsu. Sakura's eyes went wide and glassy as she was caught in the genjutsu. She sat there while Kakashi tried to find the real Naruto and Sasuke. He spotted them quickly and set up a few ambushes for the two. I wonder what those two are up to, he thought. You know she's the one who's going back, Naruto, Sasuke said. No. We'll all fail together, damn it, Naruto said. This is our team and I'm not going to lose someone on our first day. We'll just figure out what happens after that. If Naruto was alone, he'd have just passed, but I can't pass the whole team just on his performance, Kakashi thought. Time to chat, Kakashi asked, while reading his book. He engaged Sasuke in taijutsu to tire the Uchiha out and was surprised at Sasuke's skill. It wasn't near Kakashi's level, but it was better than a normal academy graduate's taijutsu. Kakashi kept Sasuke and Naruto on the defensive for several long minutes, until Sasuke was sweating and breathing heavily. Naruto wasn't even breathing hard yet. Slowing down, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto asked as 20 of him engaged the Jonin. Damn, Naruto's taijutsu is pretty good too, Kakashi thought as he absent-mindedly dispelled clone after clone. And his stamina is insane, as I expected. I don't know how I can push him to the limits of his endurance. He might have more than I do. But then, he's not the one I have to push. Kakashi started attacking Sasuke again, but when he landed a hit, it dispersed just like a shadow clone. Kakashi looked around quickly and saw both genin heading deeper into the forest. Huh, Naruto must have taught him the shadow clone jutsu. Naruto found Sakura lying on the ground where Kakashi had left her. He built up enough chakra to level a house and touched Sakura with it. Ah, she screamed. Relax. I think you were under a genjutsu, Sakura-chan, Naruto whispered. We have to come up with plan. Yeah, right. You two are just trying to figure out how to use me to get the bells, Sakura said. That must have been some jutsu to get her to turn on Sasuke, Naruto thought. Sasuke shook his head. No, just me. Naruto thinks we should all fail together. Or at least go down fighting. None of us can get the bells alone. If we work together, then we might be able to get them. We can decide who gets the bells later, Naruto said. Sakura said, and you two will just decide to take the bells and I'll be back at the academy. Naruto looked at Sakura, figuring that she didn't want to be left behind. No, if it comes to it, I'll go back to the academy. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. If we work together, we might be able to get the bells. If we don't, then we'll all fail. And then he thought, I can't be the first genin to think of this. Something about this test isn't right. Kakashi interrupted the three with a smile and a wave. Sasuke jumped back to get more space, but Naruto stood in front of Sakura with a kunai out. That was a dick move, trapping her in a genjutsu while you fought the two of us, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi shrugged. We're ninja, and launched another offensive while reading his book. This time, he went after Sakura, but Naruto kept putting himself in front of her. She wasn't even close to Naruto and Sasuke when it came to taijutsu. It didn't matter though because Naruto just kept taking hits for her while Kakashi watched Sasuke set up some traps. When Kakashi finally knocked the real Naruto out, Sasuke tried to get close to pull Naruto out, but Kakashi didn't leave an opening. Sakura was sweaty and shaking on her feet from just the few seconds she'd tried taijutsu. None of them got close enough to the bells to even make a grab, but Naruto woke up after less than a minute and tried to grab a bell from under Kakashi, but Kakashi sent him flying with a mule kick before he got close, knocking Naruto out again when he hit a tree. Sakura screamed, "Are you trying to kill him, Kakashi-sensei? Stop. Naruto needs help. The test isn't over, Sakura-chan," Kakashi replied, still fighting and reading his book. Sakura ran to Naruto and Kakashi kept fighting Sasuke while she was checking her fallen teammate. Sasuke looked at Kakashi in disgust and fought harder, hoping to distract the Jonin long enough for the others to escape or at least get up. Naruto got back up, shaking his head, as Sakura was checking him for a pulse. "I'm tougher than you might think, Sakura. Now help us out here," Naruto said as he made another dozen shadow clones and charged the Jonin. Sakura watched as her two teammates fought with skills that she couldn't hope to match that day and charged in as well, pulling out her kunai. The three put Kakashi on the defensive, but only just, and he backed away. Sasuke pushed himself well beyond what he thought he could take, but Kakashi was still too fast for him. In the middle of the match, however, Naruto noticed Sasuke's eyes change from black to red with one tomo in one eye and two tomo in the other. Sasuke was significantly faster after his eyes activated and the three managed to push Kakashi back, but Kakashi was still better than Sasuke and the four-way taijutsu match continued. Sakura was the first to be caught in Kakashi's traps, but Sasuke and Naruto weren't far behind. As the three swung in their respective nets, Kakashi held up a hand and said, "That was an intense workout, wouldn't you say? Sasuke even activated his Sharingan, but I think it's time for us to take a break and have some lunch. Unfortunately, Sakura, since you did the worst this morning, you shouldn't get any," but Naruto broke the rules, so you'll get his instead. Kakashi cut them all loose and brought them to the entrance of the training ground where he brought out 2 lunches and tied Naruto to a post. I'll be back, so hurry up and eat, Kakashi said and then poofed. I'm freaking starving, Naruto said as he watched the other 2 eat. You shouldn't have jumped the gun, Sakura said. It was hard to stay mad at him after he took such a pummeling for her, but she couldn't shake the image of him as the class clown. Screw that. We all need to be strong if we hope to get those bells. We really can't do this alone. I have some ideas for how we can work together better too, Sasuke said as he fed Naruto some of his lunch. Sakura was hungry, but if it hadn't been for Naruto, she'd be the one tied to the post and she'd be starving instead of just hungry. She sighed and said, "You're right," as she gave Naruto some of her lunch as well. What are you doing? Boomed Kakashi. We're not going to let Naruto starve just because he broke a stupid rule, Sakura said. Oh, Kakashi asked. We can't beat you without him, Kakashi-sensei, so yes, we disobeyed, Sasuke said. In that case, you all, Kakashi paused, pass, with a thumbs up. The 3 genin looked at him, confused. Those who break the rules are trash. But those who abandon their comrades are worse than trash, Kakashi explained. This test was never about who got the bells. Kakashi pulled out his own lunch and another for Naruto before untying him. I was surprised that the Hokage put you all on the same team. Naruto should be at the top of the class and the teams are usually balanced, he said sitting against a log. Sakura is number 1 in academics and Sasuke is number 1 in practical. I can't believe that you were dead last, Naruto. Naruto and Sasuke both looked at Kakashi and Naruto said, I tanked academics and practical so I'd get teamed up with Sasuke. Kakashi smiled and said in shock, you've got to be kidding me. Sasuke said, nope, while Naruto just beamed a smile. Sakura was just confused by the exchange. Kakashi-sensei, why would you think Naruto would be at the top of the class? He's always pulling pranks and barely passed anything the entire time he was at the academy. I helped Naruto when he was first starting at the academy. I showed him a way to study so that he would be able to do very well. It's something that only someone with a very high level of stamina could pull off though, Kakashi said. Sakura thought and ate for a few moments before asking Naruto, does it have to do with the weird clones that you make? Kakashi interjected, oh ho. You're a sharp one, Sakura-chan. Sasuke made just one and when you dispelled it, he was in pain for a moment. Which must mean that anything that the clone experiences, the original will experience when the clone dispels. And Naruto pumps out shadow clones like they don't cost him anything, which means he must have not only absurd stamina, but immense chakra reserves, she mused. How long have you been using shadow clones to train, Naruto? Since about the middle of our first year, he said. If you averaged 20 clones a day, you'd have covered the entire curriculum in no time. Why didn't you graduate early? Sakura wondered aloud. Short version, Mom wouldn't let me. She said we aren't at war and there's no reason to cut my childhood short, he explained. Then Sakura realized something else. Kakashi dispelled hundreds of your clones. Why didn't that hurt you? It did. I just didn't pay attention to it, he smiled. Not only is he a stamina freak, but he gets killed hundreds of times as part of his battle tactics and doesn't even flinch. There is something seriously not right about Naruto, Sakura thought. Chapter 5. Team 7 had completed their 27th D-rank mission in only 6 days. Sakura was exhausted. Between the back-to-back missions every day and Sasuke and Naruto's insistence on training every night, she could barely move when she got home at night. The day Kakashi met them for the normal morning update on missions and simply said, today, we're taking a break to visit the village monuments, she broke down in tears and hugged the Jonin. She didn't care that she'd racked up a month's worth of mission pay in only a week, she was just glad for the forced rest. And this is the Hokage monument. Naruto, would you like to tell everyone why you come up here so often? Kakashi said as the quartet stood on the side of the cliff. Kakashi had given them the tree climbing exercise on their second day, so they were all practicing vertical surface walks on the Hokage monument. Well, it used to be because I could see the whole village and everyone would have to look up to me. I really like the idea of being admired by the village instead of the weird looks everyone always gives me. But, after a while, I got used to the calm up here. It's very quiet. I also talk to them sometimes, Naruto explained. Of course, he's got a screw loose. Such a freak, Sakura thought. After the second week of relentless missions and training, Team 7 visited the empty Uchiha compound. Sakura was surprised that she wasn't as exhausted as the first week. She was stronger and faster due to the training, but her chakra level was also increasing. She was still exhausted at the end of every day, but she wasn't so tired that she slept in her clothes that second week. This is where Itachi killed my cousin. This is where Itachi killed my aunt and uncle. This is where Itachi killed my other cousins, Sasuke narrated the tour. When they got to Sasuke's house, he stood outside, frozen. You don't have to do this, if you don't want to. We can do something else. Whatever you want to do that isn't training or missions, Sasuke, Naruto soothed. No, I want to show you this. I want you all to know, Sasuke said. He reached out and slid open the door to his home, the memories flooding back as if it had been yesterday. This is where I found Itachi S, standing over our parents W, with his sword C, covered in their blood. This is where he told me that if I wanted to live, I should run away. And this is where he trapped me in Tsukuyomi. Sasuke's voice got hard when he said the last part. For 3 days. I had no idea. No wonder he constantly trains. How awesome is he? Sakura thought. After another week of missions and practice, Sakura was actually able to get into pajamas before bed instead of just stripping off her gear and collapsing into a heap. She was surprised when Kakashi met her at her door at the end of the week though. Kakashi-sensei, what's up? Sakura asked. Tomorrow is a day off and it's your turn to decide what we do. What would you like to do tomorrow as a group? Kakashi asked. But no training or missions. Sakura thought for a few minutes and realized that with the amount of mission pay they were racking up, she had a whole lot of money to burn. Shopping, she said firmly. And maybe a trip to the spa. Kakashi smiled reluctantly and said, it's your day, so shopping it is. Meet at the normal place at the normal time and we'll all go together, before poofing away. And that was how Team 7 went on a shopping spree with Sakura. The boys were bored senseless and Naruto asked if he could spin off some shadow clones to do some training, but Kakashi told him that they were to stay together all day. Then Sakura took them all to the spa for facials, manicures, pedicures, mud baths, and massages. She felt it was a very relaxing day. The boys came around after the massages. The Hokage's office. I'm sorry, Kakashi, but there aren't any more D-rank missions. You'll have to wait for more, do some training, or take a C-rank mission, the Hokage explained. The other Jonin are angry that you've taken so many missions, so even if more missions come in, I'm afraid that I'm going to have limit the number that you can take in a month. The 3 genin were looking at Kakashi like they'd just caught him with his hand in the cookie jar. I knew it, Sakura thought. Why has he been pushing us so hard on this easy stuff? We need to step it up and take something fun, Naruto thought. Finally, no more crappy, catch my missing cat, missions, Sasuke thought. Kakashi had his hand behind his head. Well, I guess we can do some training for a few days while I figure out if we're ready for a C-rank mission, Kakashi smiled through his mask. Kakashi's idea of training, however, was not skill improvement. He decided to ask the other Jonin if they could work together on their missions. Kakashi had to agree not to split the pay, however, which meant that Team 7 spent the week working for free. A fact that did not escape Kushina. Kakashi's apartment. Kakashi-chan, just take a C-rank mission. Naruto and Sasuke have been asking you for at least a week. You're making them work for free. And I don't know how much more of their training poor Sakura can take, Kushina lectured. Kushina-san, we aren't at war, so I'm taking things as slowly as I can, Kakashi countered. By doing 5 missions a day. Are you trying to break records? Kushina interrogated. Naruto has the stamina to handle it and so do the others. Their teamwork is almost perfect now, so I'm going to ask for a C-rank mission in a few days. However, the Hokage mentioned something about you starting back to active duty and I didn't want to leave before you started, Kakashi said. You're waiting on me. Kushina was shocked. Kakashi looked at the floor. Yes, he admitted. You shouldn't sit at home worrying. Minato-sensei would have wanted you to do something. To contribute. I'll speak with the Hokage in the morning, Kushina replied. Team 7's normal meeting place, 3 hours later than normal. Kakashi isn't usually this late, Sakura whined. Naruto had long since given up being patient and was practicing throwing kunai and taijutsu with dozens of clones while another dozen clones practiced sealing and unsealing with storage scrolls. Sasuke leaned casually against the fence and sighed, bored. What is up with Naruto? Sakura finally asked Sasuke. How can he keep going like that? He's a stamina freak. His mom is the same way. Half the reason I got so far ahead, physically, the last few years is because those two are relentless. It's the only area where he's legitimately better than me, Sasuke responded. It was nice that Sakura wasn't fawning over him, but it was also still a little weird. His mom? Sakura asked. Kushina-san. She's got red hair and a fiery temper, but she cares a lot. Without her, I'd probably still be so obsessed with Itachi that I couldn't see straight, Sasuke admitted. I'm pretty sure she's S rank, but she hasn't been on active duty since Naruto was born. S rank with red hair and hasn't been active since before the Kyuubi incident. I'll have to remember to look her up. What's her maiden name? Sakura asked. Uzumaki is her maiden name, Sasuke said tersely. But don't bother looking her up. Ask Kakashi about her. What, is there some village secret about her and Naruto? She asked, jokingly. Sasuke sat silently. You're messing with me, right? Sakura asked. He knows Jiraiya-sama of the Sannin, personally. You've heard how he gets away with addressing the Hokage. And he knew Kakashi, personally, before our team formed. I told you that I'm pretty sure his mother is S-ranked. None of the adults will talk about it at all. Do you really think I'm messing with you? He looked her square in the eyes. Holy shit. This team is seriously unbalanced. No wonder Kakashi was surprised, she trailed. Since you started training with Naruto, you're getting much stronger than I would have ever thought, Sasuke admitted. If you keep pushing yourself, you'll be much better than most of the rest of our class. It's probably unfair to them, but the Hokage isn't going to break up a bunch of teams just to rearrange us. It's actually beneficial for you that this happened, because you're getting stronger much faster than if we'd been a balanced team, Sasuke mused. Kakashi chose that moment to poof next to them. He waved, hello, Team 7, and smiled behind his mask. Naruto dispelled all of his clones and joined the rest of the team. Hey, Kakashi-sensei. What are we doing today? Didn't I tell you? We're taking a few days off. We have a joint escort mission going into the desert and it's going to be a long trip, Kakashi explained. Great. Naruto cheered. So we're going to do some training, right? I'll show you some exercises, but no heavy training. I don't want the team worn out, he stared at Naruto, before we even leave. Rest up and meet at the gates first thing in the morning in 3 days. Naruto frowned and grumbled, fine. When Naruto and Sasuke got home, they were surprised to find Kushina examining a topless woman whose black hair was tied up. Mom. Naruto started. Should we come back later? His mind was filled with mental images conjured from Jiraiya's books and he suddenly felt a little sick. No, it's fine. I'm just examining this seal Anko-chan has on her neck. There are actually 2 of them. One is the actual thing and the other is a suppressing seal, Kushina said absently. You're gonna learn about the naughty bits sooner or later, Anko smiled. Might as well do it under parental supervision, Kushina stopped examining the seal and looked at Anko. Please, put on a shirt, Anko-chan, she said soberly. She changed her tone as she faced Naruto and Sasuke. What are you doing home so soon? Aren't you supposed to be on missions or training? Nah, Naruto answered. Kakashi said we have a long mission in a couple of days and he didn't want me tiring out the wimps, he motioned to Sasuke. Shut up, stamina freak. Only you could keep up that pace, Sasuke retorted. Well, since you're here, I might as well tell you in person. I went on active duty today and my first mission involves Anko-chan. I'm going to be gone for a few weeks while we work together, so you'll be on your own until you leave with Kakashi-chan, Kushina explained. Sasuke-chan, I believe that you need to practice with your Sharingan. Makoto mentioned a tablet once, so go find that on the Uchiha grounds and see if it helps. Naruto-chan, there are some scrolls for you to study in your room and Jiraiya-sensei should come by with a summoning contract for you to sign before you go. Kushina rushed over to the genin and wrapped them in a big hug, saying, you boys be careful and make sure to come back, okay? I love you both. Naruto replied, of course, Mom. We're way too awesome to bite it on some lame C-rank mission. Sasuke replied, we're not going to die. Please let go of me. While he secretly thought, this is embarrassingly nice. Kushina picked up a bag and left with Anko across the rooftops. Naruto waved while Sasuke plopped down on the couch. He interrupted Naruto's farewell saying, it's your turn to make lunch, stamina freak. Naruto turned and shouted with a giant smile, ramen, it is then. 3 days later, on the road to Sand. Kakashi-sensei, are you sure that there isn't something I could be practicing along the way? How about body flicker? Please. Naruto whined. If I don't find something for him to work on, he's going to be like this for the whole trip. And if I do give him something, then he won't be paying attention to the clients. Why was I like this at his age? Kakashi thought to himself while trying his best to ignore Naruto. Sasuke, Kakashi called quietly over the radio. Yes, the serious Genin replied. Do you see anything? Negative contact, came Sasuke's voice over the radio. Kakashi turned to Naruto and asked, how is your chakra control coming? I can keep a leaf stuck to my forehead while transitioning from water walking to wall walking or tree climbing. I stopped practicing after running with it for 15 minutes. Sasuke timed me, Naruto replied much calmer. We're on a mission, so limit yourself to 4 shadow clones and don't wear yourself out. If I tell you to stop, don't ask questions. Got it? Hey, what are you doing? We didn't hire you to take a bunch of kids on a road trip, damn it. Screamed the convoy's lead driver. Having extra eyes will be very useful, sir, so just let us do our job and everything will be fine, Kakashi smiled. Okay, Naruto. Body flicker should be easy to learn. Kakashi started with the mic open for Sasuke and Sakura to hear. All you have to do is mold chakra into your whole body. It temporarily energizes you and allows you to move at much higher speeds. The boost is only temporary though, and the whole technique depends on how much chakra you put into it. Kakashi showed Naruto by moving from the ground to a nearby tree in less than the blink of an eye. Like that. The better you are at it, the faster you'll move. Now practice, but leave at least one set of eyes to watch for danger, he said as he jumped back down. Naruto created 4 shadow clones and set them to practice while he diligently kept an eye out. 2 days later, near the border of Sand. Kakashi-sensei, possible contact left, Sasuke radioed from ahead of the convoy. His Sharingan was already active in preparation for battle. Wind gusted past to him as Naruto body flickered next to him. Naruto discovered that body flicker was a good technique for closing distance, but he could only move in a straight line. In order to take a corner, he would have to move at his fastest speeds or body flicker, pause, then body flicker again. Molding the chakra for the technique took him a split second as well, so he didn't like the idea of using it against a serious opponent. But to move a few hundred yards in the blink of an eye, it was perfect. That's a handy trick, stamina freak, Sasuke whispered. You should talk, red eyes. What have we got? Naruto whispered in response. I can't tell without getting closer. Send a shadow clone over there, he pointed, to check it out. Naruto nodded and created a shadow clone which promptly body flickered in the direction Sasuke pointed. After a minute, Naruto frowned. He clicked his radio on and asked, Kakashi-sensei, are we in Wind Country yet? Not yet. Did you spot Sand Nin? Kakashi replied. I don't think so. It's a nin from the Mist Village. She looked a little malnourished, but killed my clone with a lava ball, Naruto answered. Kakashi winced. Halt the convoy, he said to the convoy leader. Sakura, guard them. Radio if you get into any trouble. Sasuke, Naruto, join Sakura. And make a clone to come with me. Naruto body flickered next to Kakashi and created a clone. Sasuke, not to be outdone, body flickered next to Naruto. I don't know what's going on, but this could get dangerous. If she kills me, take a longer route around to complete the mission then return to the village immediately, Kakashi told the Genin trio. Kakashi, Sasuke, and Naruto went to where Naruto's last clone had died, but found only a cooling ball of lava. Come to finish the job. Wheezed a slender woman covered in dirt from behind them. You'll find I'm not so easy to kill. Lava style. Lava glob. A ball of lava shot out, but Kakashi grabbed Naruto and dodged as it passed close enough to feel the heat while Sasuke evaded using body flicker to a nearby tree. We're not here to kill anyone. Naruto shouted. But Kakashi pulled his headband up to expose the 3-tomo Sharingan in his left eye. Naruto. She's not interested in talking. Kakashi shouted, readying himself for battle. Kakashi the copy ninja, huh? Well, try copying this. She shouted, stumbling on her feet. Boil style, corrosive mist. A tiny jet of mist came out of her mouth, but she started coughing before much more than a few squirts came out. She stumbled forward into the aborted jutsu and Naruto's body flickered behind the woman, wrapping his arms around her neck and his legs around her waist. I've got her, he shouted, holding on for dear life. She spun around and smashed backward into a tree, dispelling the shadow clone. What the, was all that she managed to say as Kakashi struck her from behind, knocking tired woman out. Sakura, tell the convoy to prepare a tent, Kakashi radioed. Inside the large tent. But we're not Hunter Nin. She's from another village and she looks like she's lost. We should just give her directions home and be on our way, Naruto argued. Kakashi frowned behind his mask. She might have comrades nearby, Naruto. We don't know why she's here. We can't just let her go. On the other hand, we aren't at war with the village hidden in the mist, so we could just let her go and file a report on the incident. Still, I'd like to hear her explanation before I decide. And it looks like she might be out for a while. The woman rolled over and started pushing herself up. Naruto ran over with Sakura and said with a smile, hello. You're awake already. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. Who are you? Didn't I kill you, Naruto Uzumaki? Am I dead? The woman grumbled. Not dead. Just in a very precarious state. I can tell that you are an extremely dangerous kunoichi, but as exhausted as you are right now, I don't think you should strain yourself, Kakashi said, smiling. What are you Leaf Ninja doing here? She asked. This is Fire Country. Why wouldn't we be here? Naruto commented. Where do you think you are? Kakashi asked. Are you the interrogation team then? She asked with icy resolve. We do things differently than the Bloody Mist. We just happen to be in the area. I haven't decided if we should take you in yet, Kakashi explained. You can't hold me, copy Kakashi, she said with a deadly tone. Kakashi smiled, probably not. Naruto added with a smile of his own, but we can't help you if you don't tell us anything. The woman looked like she was thinking about it for a while. I was returning from a mission when I got caught in a sandstorm. I don't know how long ago, she finally explained with a scowl. Naruto pulled a map out of one of his pouches and the woman flinched before she saw that it was only a map. He unfolded it in front of her and pointed to where they were on it. This is where we are. He pulled out some rations and water. Here's some food and water. Rest for a little while and then make your way home. He smiled again and waved as the 4-leaf ninja left her alone in the tent. I don't really have much choice, do I? She thought as she passed out. The convoy continued on to the desert where Kakashi passed the convoy off to a team from the village hidden in the sand. They checked the tent on the way back, but it was empty. That was part 1 of What If Kushina Survived and Trained Naruto in Secret While the Leaf Lied to Him. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, and subscribe to Fox Fan Fiction for more incredible Naruto What If tales.